when it comes to music and movies and television, we've got one go-to guy. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder is his name. They call him the Culture Blaster. He is in San Francisco today. He is back and forth between Los Angeles and San Francisco, keeping the coast safe. What do you have for us today, oh great Culture Blaster?
Well, Mark, it is Donald Trump's birthday, and it's a landmark one. I mean, he's felon years old. We're thrilled about all of that. Actually, he's 78, but going by his behavior, that would be in dog years. But in any event, there's so much going on in both San Francisco and LA this week, and I feel torn. I am, of course, reporting from an undisclosed location in Northern California.
Sure.
Okay, I'll admit it. I'm on Russian Hill, and I would prefer to be on Ukrainian Hill, but you go with what you got.
Sure.
So much. Let me give you a community notes quickly before we get to the film reviews. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so the North Beach Festival is happening this Saturday and Sunday with Columbus and Green serving as its hub. In North Beach, there's going to be craft vendors, food stalls and trucks, beer and wine gardens, and live performances via stages at Broadway in Columbus, on Grant, and on Stockton, around Filbert. I am definitely going to try to make it to a set by our pal and Music City SF entrepreneur Rudy Colombini and his band, the Unauthorized Rolling Stones, on Sunday. I'll be wearing my beret. It's around 5:30 in the afternoon, and it's on the Broadway stage. I'm prepared for crowds. I know there's going to be some totally cool people there, and probably a lot of people that you might only be able to tolerate after a stop at the beer garden, but I'm excited about it. Also, appropriately launching in the middle of Pride Month and running from June 19th to 29th, the 48th San Francisco International LGBTQ plus Film Festival is going to be happening as usual. Frameline, the film organization, arts organization, is, as ever, hosting it. They kind of call it like Frameline 48 for shorthand, and it's honoring the many shades of LGBTQ cinema. Sadly, despite the loss of its longtime venue, the Castro Theater, not sadly, we're sad about the fact that it's being renovated and being retooled for concert shows. But the festival will be going down at the Roxy Theater, the Palace of Fine Arts, the Herbst Theater, the Vogue, the New Parkway in Oakland, and there's going to be parties and events at places like the Stud and Oasis. And honoring its Castro roots, Frameline 48 is going to kick off with a free outdoor event, the Juneteenth Film and Block Party on Castro Street. And for more info, people can click on to frameline.org. Finally, I do want to mention that in Los Angeles, because again, like I said, I'm torn, it's the 21st annual Tar Fest this Saturday, a day in the park. It's from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. for free at Pan Pacific Park, 7600 Beverly. And it's going to feature live music, live painting from some of my favorite artists, including the fantastic pop surrealist Johnny KMNDZ Rodriguez, DJs, artisan booths, food trucks, kids activities, so much going on this weekend. It's crazy. Why am I going to even review films? Because I just have to, Mark. I have to.
Wow, I didn't realize how much is going on. This is a big weekend then, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco.
Absolutely. And the twain meets, by the way, at Oracle Park this weekend when the Los Angeles Angels play the Giants, and hopefully the Giants will send the Angels to hell.
I get it. Angels hell. I think the Giants have a shot at that. Don't you agree?
I think they're going to take 2 of 3 minimum. I'm hoping for a sweep. My boys have got to get up from 500 and start making a run for the wild card.
It's been a tough ride lately. Yeah.
Movie time, right? Let's go.
Yes, sir. Do it, please.
Okay. So we're going to kick things off with Inside Out 2. So after producing a string of really clever, innovative, emotionally satisfying, and unimpeachably wonderful computer animated movies that were highlighted by Toy Story and The Incredibles and distributed by the Disney Company, Emeryville, California's Pixar studio was fully acquired by the Mouse House and then weirdly enough, Disney itself began doing some pretty impressive CGI fashion films such as Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph that were, how shall I put this, downright Pixarian. And meanwhile, despite excellent efforts, including 3 Toy Story sequels, Ratatouille, Monsters, Inc., Coco, and Soul, boy, I loved Soul, Pixar delivered some clunkers, most notably The Good Dinosaur, although Onward wasn't particularly memorable, wasn't crazy about last year's Elemental. The less said about the Cars movies, the better. But throughout this entire decades-long run by Pixar, going all the way back to that first Toy Story movie in 1995, one of the most creative, heartfelt, and thoroughly human movies was 2015's Inside Out by Pixar mainstay Pete Docter. He was the director of Note. And in it, we got inside the mind of a tween, 11-year-old Riley, who loved playing hockey, lived in the Midwest, but found her entire life thrown asunder when her parents decided to move to San Francisco. And getting into her brain, we meet her emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. And we see how her mind works. It's very powerful, emotionally moving, funny as hell, cleverly designed. And Inside Out 2 is a absolutely terrific sequel. Now, if you haven't seen the first one, this isn't going to have the impact that it should. So you really need to have seen Inside Out before you see Inside Out 2, because we're back in Riley's mind, and she's up against that greatest devil of all while growing up, puberty.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, so 4 more, this is so great, 4 more emotions show up in her brain bank, these avatars that kind of create the way she thinks and feels. And there's a war going on in her brain between all of the emotions. Boy, if there was ever a way to describe puberty, that would be it. So you still get the terrific performances by Amy Poehler as Joy, who's kind of the lead emotion. But you also get, obviously, the other ones, including anger, voiced by Lewis Black. Phyllis Smith from The Office is the voice of sadness. And they actually brought in a couple of new voices to pick up from the previous actors. Tony Hale is Fear. And I think Lisa Lapira, Lisa Lapira is Disgust. But the new emotions are fantastic. Maya Hawke is anxiety. And if you remember your early teen years, anxiety really kind of ruled the roost for most of us, I think. And there becomes a power struggle in Riley's brain. And it all plays out as she's trying to win a spot on the junior high or the next level of school, the hockey team. She loves playing hockey. You get San Francisco exteriors. You get a lovely voice work from the new actors who are in the mix. Envy is one of the new emotions, voiced by Ayo Edebiri. You get, this is great. Adele Exarchopoulos, the French actress, is Ennui. Oh my God. She doesn't have a lot to do, but, the languor of the French actress, absolutely fantastic. Dad and Mom are voiced by Kyle MacLachlan and Diane Lane. Paul Walter Hauser is Embarrassment. It is lovely as the original emotions get deeper and deeper into Riley's mind to see what they can do about putting her on the right track as, these new emotions start throwing her world asunder. Loved it. It was directed by someone other than Pete Docter, and they did a good job. And, I have to add that, let me get the name of the director. Kelsey Mann, who was a Pixar mainstay. The truth is, it's not quite Inside Out, but man, it's a terrific sequel. That's all I can say about that. It's in
very,
theaters.
very good. I'll
highly
ding
recommended.
Langer and I'll ding Asunder, which you used twice. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there you go. What can you do? Let's flip the script here a little bit. You can count on British history to provide what seems to be countless tales of armies at war and royals at play, with political intrigue and treachery at court, put right in the middle of things. It's all par for the course. And that has meant plenty of fodder for the elegantly costumed period dramas that lend themselves to the silver screen or the pewter screen, depending on how aristocratic or peasant class,
Yeah.
This brings me to Firebrand, a new and meticulously appointed but revisionist look at the marriage of the vile Tudor period ruler of England, Henry VIII. Remember, Henry VIII, I am, and his marriage to his sixth wife. And as you may recollect, he had six wives. End of story. Spoiler alert, that was all. So in any event, Catherine Parr was his sixth wife, and it looked like she was going to stick. He had her act as regent when he went off to war, and she tried her damnedest to support the then radical Protestant movement that was attempting to reform the church and make it more English than the Latin prayer and scripture dictated by the Vatican. This was anathema to a lot of the movers and shakers in the court, like, the religious heads of state that advised Henry VIII. So a little war starts happening in the context of the court. And they're trying to find proof that Catherine was consorting with these, I guess, radicals is the best way to put it, and then bring her down and regain more power when Henry comes back from war. Henry is played by Jude Law. Portly, vulgar, wonderful, over-the-top performance, appropriately so, by Jude Law. And in a more measured performance, Alicia Vikander plays Catherine. And again, this is a revisionist look, almost a feminist look at her place in history and what she tried to do. And clearly there are fictional elements and extrapolations going on here. But, the performances are good. Kareem Ainuz directed. And, surprise, written by three women, Jessica Ashworth, Henrietta Ashworth, and Elizabeth Fremantle. And I thought they did a good job. But how much you like it maybe depends on your love of period drama, and also whether you can take this kind of modern slant on what we know as historical fact. So
I see. Do you feel that the history was twisted a lot? Is that kind of what you're suggesting?
Not a lot, but to an extent. I mean, there are presumptions here. They're reading into things that Catherine may or may not have done, and how deeply enmeshed she was with the Protestant movement. But I still, the performances were so good that I didn't blanch at any of that. It's in theaters. It's called Firebrand. It's not a great movie, but it's pretty intriguing, and I didn't feel like it was a time waster, unlike some things on this program.
Thank you. Enmeshed, I will ding. I also will ding something else you just said. What was it?
I'm sure it was normally...
Somebody in the chat will get it. Yeah, but it was... anyway, all right.
Let's move on to another double act in a way. The great British comic actor Stephen Fry, who I will always enjoy watching no matter what. He was teamed up with Hugh Laurie as the comedy team of Fry and Laurie. They did the Jeeves and Wooster TV show, which was wildly entertaining. And he teams with the divisive but talented American actress and writer Lena Dunham, who was the creator and the star of Girls, the TV show on HBO. And she also directed the really good medieval coming-of-age comedy Catherine Called Birdie. But they make for a very odd and occasionally fascinating couple in the uneven dramedy Treasure. Treasure essentially recounts a strange and dark trip to Poland by a contentious father and daughter pair in the 1990s as a self-deprecating American journalist, Ruth, arranges what amounts to a Holocaust tour with her Polish immigrant father, Edek, who is a concentration camp survivor, and he has little desire to revisit the horrors of his youth by returning to the place where it all happened. So we are with Ruth, played by Dunham, and Edek, played by Fry, for the majority of the film. And watching them is pretty wonderful. I mean, they're just, very talented, but the whole thing is kind of a downer in a way. The comedy just sort of lays there. And again, Fry is a brilliant comedian, but he's basically doing a dramatic turn here. And the self-deprecation on the part of Dunham's character gets to be a little wearying. They are always worth watching, and it's an interesting conceit. And if we have to bring up the whole never forget idea regarding the Holocaust and what happened, that's reason enough to at least acknowledge Treasure. I think, again, not a great film, but it had some merit. It was directed by Julia von Heinz, and she co-wrote the screenplay with John Quester. And, always happy to see a woman taking the reins when it comes to filmmaking. And again, this has
I
some
don't quite
degree of
understand.
merit.
I don't mean to interrupt. I don't quite understand when you say it's a Holocaust. So you're saying she's taking her Polish-born or his heritage is Polish
Yeah, he was
father
born
on a tour of various Holocaust memorials,
where he lived while growing up, where his family was basically taken to the concentration camp, to the camps itself. Yeah, it's a Holocaust tour. I just wanted to give you a little shorthand on that. But
no, I get it. I was just wanting to make sure I had the okay.
Oh
go ahead.
my God, that aspect of it is so heartbreaking.
Powerful, huh? Yeah,
and powerful, but ultimately it's kind of an uneasy mix. It's almost an oil and water situation to have these performers in the middle of this. I know they were trying to do something, memorable, and it's not a great film, and it's kind of again, because of the shifting tones, it doesn't quite congeal. But again, I can't denigrate Fry or Dunham as performers.
All right, congeal and denigrate. I mean, I think it's just getting okay. Very good. Yeah, good.
People. Let's get a little lighter, okay? Ultraman Rising is an attempt to basically restart the Japanese sci-fi kaiju superhero franchise, where a giant robotic avatar of a human given powers from aliens is here on Earth to fight kaiju, the giant monsters that we know from Japanese science fiction films.
Well, somebody's got to fight them.
Well, of course. But one of the issues with this, and it's kind of well animated, and it has its charming moments. It basically tells the story of a young boy who actually grows up to become a successful professional baseball player in America on the Dodgers, a player from Japan. Sound familiar at all? I don't know if there's any gambling involved, but anyway, what it's basically about is that Ken Sato, he returns home from his career as a Dodger, returning to Tokyo to take on the mantle of Ultraman, because apparently his dad has been Ultraman. We never understand through this movie alone. You have to have known the earlier versions of this to understand specifically the source of his powers, his backstory. How is this mantle handed on from father to son? None of that is covered. That said, there are some charming moments here. There are terrific battles between Ultraman and the giant monsters. There's a kaiju defense force that actually considers Ultraman an interloper. There are moments, and of course, since I think it's more kid-oriented than for grown-ups or even longtime Ultraman fans, there is a cute little kaiju baby that Ultraman basically bonds with and has to kind of parent. I wish story-wise it had been better, but visually it's fun, and I think the tots might get a kick out of it. I just, if I didn't know anything about Ultraman at all, I would have been really lost. And I fear that might be the case for some viewers. They never explain his origins, the source of his powers, or how that power is handed down. So
you would have liked to have seen some backstory, a little bit of like fill in a little detail as to how Ultraman got so ultra.
I always say, oh, please cut back on the exposition. Here I was like, please give me some exposition. Anyway, it's on Netflix, so it's not going to be that big a deal time-wise or cash-wise if you have a Netflix account. The kids will probably like it. Shannon Tyndall directed. The music is wonderful, by the way, and the visuals, largely done by Industrial Light and Magic from Marin County, are good. But I kind of, compared to Inside Out 2, I mean, they're not even in the same universe, pardon the expression.
You are right. I mean, well, I'm just looking at the cheat sheet I have that usually indicates what things you are going to speak of. I normally never look at it, but today I'm looking at it just to make sure we finish up on time, and I see to it that we've kind of reached the end of the little run here.
We have one more movie, my friend.
Okay, great. Let's bring it on.
All right. Aussie actress Alice Englert has done some really impressive supporting work on prestige TV shows, including The Serpent, which I loved, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I loved, and Top of the Lake, which I totally enjoyed as well, with Elizabeth Moss playing someone from the Antipodeans. And also, Englert played opposite Noomi Rapace in a very dark and freaky supernatural drama called You Won't Be Alone. And now she has written and directed Bad Behavior. And in Bad Behavior, she also plays Dylan, the alienated daughter of Lucy, a single mother and former actress played by Jennifer Connelly. And their fraught relationship is at the heart of Bad Behavior, which begins with them apart. Lucy is at a spiritual retreat overseen by a guru type named, get ready, Elon. That's right. Wow. Anyway, he's played in perfectly smug and smarmy fashion by the always terrific Ben Whishaw, who starred in The Hour. He was Q in the Daniel Craig 007 movies. Anyway, Dylan is working on us as a stunt woman in New Zealand, but dire circumstances bring mother and daughter back together for a wrenching reunion. Even if the story is somewhat all over the place, the acting is superb. Connolly has come quite a way since playing the Betty Page-style love interest in The Rocketeer. Her work in the sci-fi shows Snowpiercer and the current miniseries Dark Matter has been mature and sharp, but her performance in Bad Behavior is next level. This is not to undersell Englert's turn as Dylan. She goes toe-to-toe with Connolly. If and when Englert's screenwriting and directing reach the heights of her acting, watch out. Still, Bad Behavior shows great promise for her as a filmmaker, and is definitely worth watching to see her and Connolly going at it. It's in theaters and available for streaming. And again, not a great film. It's one of those things like Treasure where you are fascinated by the performances, and even to an extent, Firebrand. Of all these movies, the only one I can unequivocally cheer is Inside Out 2, but there is merit in everything that I've reviewed today.
Wow. Check it out. Michael just did really cover the gamut. Finished up with that Bad Behavior, the New Zealand offering with Jennifer Connelly and Alice Englert.
Alice Englert is clearly a talent. And by the way, the spiritual retreat is in Oregon. So Dylan has to travel across the Pacific from New Zealand when things go bad at the movie shoot she's working on. It's
not bad. It's not bad though. You kind of like it.
There are
I would say, I guess.
I thought it was a better film than Treasure, but again, I never miss a chance to watch Stephen Fry. I just don't. I just think he's so good.
It's in theaters now, or is it streamable as well?
It's streamable as well.
Bad Behavior we're talking about. And Treasure is Stephen Fry, and I haven't gotten to Treasure yet, Michael, please. I've got an order that I go through.
Why are you yelling?
And right away, you're like screwing up my order.
Why are you yelling?
Bad Behavior is the Jennifer Connelly. We just mentioned it, and he says it's okay. It's in theaters. It's
and available for streaming.
Thank you. Ultraman, going in reverse order. Ultraman is Ultraman Rising. The famous baseball player Ken Sato. He goes back home because he's also Ultraman.
Oh, dude, I forgot. He comes back and he also joins the Yomiuri Giants, which was his boyhood team. And because he's so wrapped up in his Ultraman crap, he is not very good on the field. And this big star, is faltering because of his responsibilities to the little baby kaiju.
But he can't tell anybody that's the reason he's faltering. Is that right?
Exactly. And honestly, as a San Francisco Giants fan, our sister team is the Yomiuri Giants in Tokyo. So I was rooting for this movie on so many levels.
He said he would have liked to have seen more exposition, is what Michael said. He said he just felt that there was a little backstory missing, probably more for the kids was his general disposition toward Ultraman Rising. Treasure, Stephen Fry and Lena Dunham, they go on a Holocaust tour of sorts for her dad, who has roots, as the family does, in Poland. He said that it's a great opportunity to see two very talented actors acting, but sadly, Michael can't be over the moon recommending this. Kind of a downer, he says, and he just felt Treasure wasn't quite hitting the way he would have liked to have seen it hit. Is that a fair way to put it, sir?
I hate to use the word muddled over and over again for some of these movies, but yeah, this is a little on the muddy side.
FIREBRAND is the almost feminist look at Henry VIII. It's a British historical drama, and it was written by 3 women. The film focuses on the Queen of England and the wife and widow of Henry VIII, Catherine Parr. Stars Alicia Vikander. I love Alicia Vikander.
Oh,
so
my
do
God.
you.
Ex Machina. I can't even.
The very best. The very best. I could only see, if I had one choice, to only see one actor in movies, Alicia Vikander would be the...
What?
No.
You know what? I've reappraised the movie version by Guy Ritchie of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., where she plays a spy, because she is so good.
Jude Law ain't bad either. He's in it. And Michael says, it's interesting. I got that you didn't love it, sir.
I didn't love it. It gets a little dolorous at points, but honestly,
dolorous for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Jude Law is so good in it, and Alicia Vikander is so good in it, and obviously I like the message of empowerment. But
sure.
It was not great.
And finally, he started with Inside Out 2, the inventive way to tackle this character. We see inside her head as the emotions that we're familiar with are joined by other emotions and other urges and feelings and pressures and anxieties as she goes through puberty. In Riley's mind, all of these things are crashing together. Great voice work. Michael liked it. I got again that you didn't love it, but you liked it.
I loved it, but when you compare it to the first film, it's not as good and as startlingly original. And on the other hand, if you don't watch the first film before you watch this, you're making a big mistake. It's sort of like, remember when you and Courtney wanted to go see Avengers Endgame and you'd never seen Avengers Infinity Wars? And I was like, are you joking? You're going to see this after not seeing part 1? Oh, my God.
That is the summary on Inside Out 2. See Inside Out, and then you'll like this. Not as much as Inside Out, but you'll like Inside Out 2. Michael, great job. Enjoy your time in San Francisco. Come in studio when next you have an opportunity. Next Friday, I'm away, but you will be here nonetheless. Kim will be helming things. We might have a guest in the mix that Kim will be with, so please don't forget us next Friday. You can find Michael, Voice of San Francisco. Voice of San Francisco, is it .org? Yeah.
TheVoiceSF.org.
TheVoiceSF.org is where you can read Michael's musings. We have it on screen for you now. Definitely check it out. He's a brilliant writer. Great takes on any number of things from movies to life. So, Michael, we love you. He comes and goes on a rainbow.
Farewell,
enjoy the festivals this weekend, my
never
friend.
go
Michael
giant.
Snyder, everybody, the Culture Blaster. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.